Chapter 24. Tricks and Treats. Together with the others, Arya is led off the landing pad and toward an office building. The image of the dead crows still burns vividly in her mind. 2 lives just ended, as ugly and meaningless as they were. All the tens of thousands of immigrants dying on their journey north, all the deaths in her own family pale in comparison to her direct experience of death. Turning around, she slows down for a moment to search for Raylan, but an agent forcefully pushes her forward with a heavy gloved fist. One after the other, they are ushered through a door into a waiting room with rows of benches along the walls, and in the middle of the room, lit by bright neon light. The Winslow security logo is sported on several glass doors along a corridor. Without a word, the agents push them down on a bench in the middle of the room. They shoulder their rifles and sit or lean against the walls, obviously bored with their assignment at the end of a long night shift.
I feel miserable.
Pris moans and tries to sit upright with her hands tied behind her back. Blood trickles from her temple. The glowing red imprint of a rifle butt is swollen, bulging on the side of her face.
Welcome to the club,
Siren cynically retorts. Outside, the cold morning wind howls over the mountain slopes. On its way to the sea, it rattles windows and buildings, chasing the night away.
I'm bored. Turn on the TV.
An AMA agent demands, stretching her arms.
Our assignment is to guard them.
The Crow leader interjects.
Len Chirna says they're extremely dangerous.
Extremely dangerous? Look at them.
The AMA agent snorts, bracing herself on her rifle as she gets up. She walks toward the TV screen, sweeping her gaze over the faces of her mates. She stops in front of the screen and turns back at her squad leader. Spreading her hands, as if begging for approval, she exclaims,
Come on, boss. These kids, give me a break.
The squad leader waves at her dismissively and growls.
Whatever. Thompson and Feyritz, guard the door.
The agents visibly relax and sit down next to the prisoners, their eyes glued to the TV screen that illuminates their faces with its bright light. After a short discussion among the squad, reports of last night's Discord games flicker across the screen. Meanwhile, Saren moves her tied hands to get a better grip on the carbon chain. Sitting next to her, Arya stares at the floor tiles, slumped forward. Deeply exhausted and devastated by their hopeless condition, she contemplates the deaths of the crows in her past and her own certain death in the future. The sting of the impending global catastrophe hurts deeper than her own death, and a strange sensation of resigned peace overcomes her. She notices Saren's awkward hand movements. Saren quickly looks down, whispering barely audibly.
Don't look.
Arya casually looks away and surveys the room. The building seems to be part of the plant's security system. Behind one of the glass doors, video screens and structural holograms glow in eerie fluorescent light. Glancing around, she throws a quick gaze at Saren's back. Saren's fingernails methodically pierce a carbon chain link. The seat below her hands is sprinkled with tiny carbon fiber chips. Spotting Arya's glance, Saren winks at her, whispering,
Never give up.
Time passes slowly, and the first light of the day feels its way into the waiting room. The ATC agents discuss the Discord results and laugh at the news feed about the escape of the ECOS terrorists.
Terrorists, my ass.
The AMA agent spits on the floor as she stares at the prisoners.
Shut up and switch to Channel 4.
The squad leader cuts in.
I want to see the ceremony.
For a second, all lights flicker and the locks on the glass door click open and close. The small surveillance camera at the ceiling whirs for a moment.
What the fuck was that?
Alarmed, the agents clasp their weapons tightly. Their eyes nervously search the room, waiting for something to happen. After a moment, the squad leader relaxes and snorts.
Just a glitch.
He orders the MA agent.
Turn it to Channel 4.
Images of the flag grandstands on the God's ceremony grounds light up the screen. Important world leaders arrive on landing pads, waving at the cameras. The drone cameras sweep over guests, picking out famous persons in close-ups. The enthusiastic voice of an AMA moderator sounds through the room.
And behind me, you see the guests arrive at the grandstands. It will be a magnificent day for the whole world. Thousands of invited guests from all over the world will experience the first day of the future of our world. Today, all global leaders from government and industry rejoice today in the Just a second.
The excited voice pauses.
Oh, how terrible. We've just heard that Raylan Winslow, chairman of Winslow Industries, is unable to attend the ceremony due to illness. What an unfortunate event. I am told he will attend via satellite feed. How sad for the world that this industrial magnate. And there is Ambassador Milton chatting with Len Pearson, the chairman of the LASA's Energy Commissioner.
Evren's head shoots up. With wide open eyes, she intently stares at the screen, recognizing the face of her Len mom who converses with a heavy-set crow in wide robes. Evren clenches her fists, straining against the carbon chain. Her Len mom. The thought that someone close to her would be directly affected by her failure never crossed her mind. Of course, Evren's Len mom would be there. She has been the shooting star among the Continental Energy Commissioners. The god's construction is her finest achievement. Slumping back against the seat, Evren rests her head against the wall and closes her eyes. A single tear rolls down her face. Opening her eyes, she absently stares at the ceiling through a watery haze and only sees shimmering fragments of lights and shadows, like the shards of her wasted life. Abruptly, she looks at the agent next to her as a wild plan forms in her mind.
Why not end it here? End the pain right now.
Whispers and enticing sensory images of tranquility and peace flood Evren's self. She stares at the barrel of the agent's rifle, her nostrils flaring under her quickening breath, slightly rocking back and forth. Her eyes fix the dark, ominous muzzle of the rifle barrel. The moderator's voice disturbs Evren's mental preparations for her final task.
And there's EXO.
She exclaims.
The world's star and his entourage enter the stage to feel the scene.
The AMA voice cheers and goes on to describe the latest success of the global pop star. EXO's name distracts Evren's suicidal thoughts long enough to recall one of EXO's top hits from her memories, Sea, Earth, and Fire. The beat of the song carries her back to her school days and the many mistakes she made. She so wished she could call out to her younger self.
Don't repeat my mistakes.
But she cannot hack time. Its security system is flawless. The shrill voice of the moderator bites like malicious laughter as Evren rises with shaking knees.
People, this will be so awesome.
The voice screeches in Evren's ears.
In just 3 hours, the gods will activate and lead us into a...
The piercing wail of an alarm suddenly echoes through the room, drowning out the TV. A Crow agent incidentally slams Evren back down on her seat, keeping her down with a heavy fist while gazing at his squad leader. Shocked by the loud noise as much as by her interrupted suicide attempt, Evren sits with shaking knees. The agents ready their weapons, keeping the door and the corridor covered. A soft Len voice sounds through the speaker system.
Warning. Warning. Core pressure increasing. Evacuate immediately. Warning. Warning.
The wailing alarm continues, repeating its warning cry every 10 seconds. The squad leader reaches for his earpiece and spits out a few words.
Third squad.
Warning.
Affirmative.
Warning.
The
Core
whole
pressure
team?
increasing.
What about the
Evacuate
prisoners?
immediately.
Understood. We're on our way.
He raises his voice over the alarm.
Listen up. The plant will close down until they fix it. All personnel must leave the premises. Our assignment, checking all outgoing traffic outside the power plant.
Owning the ATC agents give up their hope for a quick end to the shift. They're fucking terrorist, right? The Crow agent next to Evren curses, frowning at her. What about these, boss? He asks, should we X them now? He steps back, aiming his rifle at Evren's head, ready to pull the trigger. Evren stares into the muzzle, expecting a light flash to end her life. Her final failure.
Warning. Warning. Core pressure increasing. Evacuate immediately. Warning. Warning.
The squad leader frowns and his eyes carelessly sweep over the prisoners on the bench.
Orders were for the whole squad, but
He scratches his neck.
the crazy Len said she wants them freshly killed,
Core pressure increasing.
whatever that means.
Evacuate
But I'm not the one
immediately.
reporting to her that they
Warning.
died too early.
Warning.
So,
He slams his fist on the Crow agent's shoulder pad.
you're the lucky winner.
He grins and adds with a nod to the prisoners.
Keep him alive.
Crow.
Bemoaning his assignment, the Crow agent lets himself fall on the bench next to Evren. The squad leader opens the door and shouts over the alarm.
Move out. Go, go, go.
After the ATC team left the building, They all gaze at the entrance door, wondering what the alarm means.
What's going on?
Arya whispers to Seren, but Seren stays silent, renewing her efforts to break her chains, while dismissing the pain in the slippery blood-covered carbon chain.
Warning. Warning. Core pressure increasing. Evacuate immediately. Warning. Warning.
Suddenly, the alarm stops. The following silence roars in their ears, until the blabbering voice of the TV moderator fills the room again. Unsure about the sudden silence, the agent walks to the door and peers outside. He readies his rifle and paces the room nervously. As he passes the prisoners, Seren sends him a sweet, innocent smile. Puzzled, he stops and stares at the young Len. Seren's lips part into a pleased, luscious smile as she eyes him up and down, overly confident in his alluring nature. The crow leers at the beautiful young Len. Arya picks up on Seren's ruse and tries her best to play the part of the Ludama, or what she thinks a Ludama would act like. She leans her shoulder against Seren and arches her back, bulging her Amma muscle. Pris notices the agent's intense stare and leans forward.
You're too old for them.
She growls.
Get your hands off!
The agent scoffs at her and points to Seren and Arya. They're going to die anyway, so why not have some fun, right?
He may be right, you know.
Arya purrs. Gazing up at the crow, she suppresses her urge to vomit on the agent's boots. The crow licks his lips while his eyes dart over their bodies.
Oh yeah, look at him.
Seren breathes in a low, soft voice. Her hips gently sway as she rises from her seat, her hands behind her back. The agent's eyes wander from Seren's inviting smile over her small body and further down to Arya's strangely puppet-like smile. Seren leans forward and whispers,
Are you ready for a treat?
Firmly caught in the vice of his primal desires, he fails to interpret her words correctly. Glancing back into Seren's eyes, his fantasies come to an abrupt halt. Her bared teeth and vicious smile contradict sharply with the warm sound of her voice. Seren lets out a blood-curdling scream as something snaps behind her back. Stepping back, the stunned agent tries to aim at her, but he is too slow for Seren's lightning-quick attack. In one fluid motion, her outstretched fingers swing from behind her back like daggers, dodging the crow's flailing arms. She thrusts her fingers into the crow's eyes and completes the arc by ripping her fingers down his cheeks. The crow instantly starts to scream, covering his face in agony. Seren stands ready to attack again, her fingers dripping with blood. Screaming in pain, the crow stumbles backward. Pris's leg extends and the screaming crow topples to the ground. Taryn quickly pushes the rifle away with her foot, while Seren steps forward and deftly kicks the still screaming crow in his head. A spray of blood hits the floor as his unconscious body rolls over and lays still. Seren grabs a knife off the agent's tool belt and cuts open the carbon chains of her friends.
What's with the alarm?
Pris calls out, grabbing the agent's rifle. She rushes to the door and peers outside. Yellow warning lights flash through the cold morning air. The employees are walking in an orderly fashion out of the power plant and toward the parking lots.
Some god just rolled a triple 20.
Everyone muses, referring to a rare event in a popular board game. Inside, she still awaits the blinding flash out of the dark rifle muzzle like the answer to an unsolved riddle. But the answer has to wait. There is another riddle that she is close to solving. Looking at the scenes of the god's ceremony, she gets up and mutes the TV. The news switches from highlight to highlight, famous people, dancing artists, speeches, the banners of all nations glittering in the morning light. The scenery reminds everyone of a macabre New Year's celebration. The countdown is shown at the bottom of the screen. 2:47, 34, 33, 32. Meanwhile, Arya tries to fade out the blood and the motionless body lying next to her on the floor.
We must help Ray.
She pleads.
We must find him.
Seren is still in her fighting frenzy and angrily squints her eyes at Arya. Arya's priorities irritate her.
The bomb.
She replies calmly.
We need to find the bomb.
Arya wants to reply, but Evren has found the answer to her riddle.
Pico.
She shouts out loud in a sudden epiphany.
What?
Arya is perplexed.
Pico.
Evren calls, waving at the camera.
We're here.
The camera moves back and forth in response.
Oh my God.
Arya cries out. She jumps up, frantically waving at the surveillance camera. Taryn is stunned as she gazes up at the camera. She whispers.
You think it's him?
It must be.
Evren responds.
An alarm in the pressure system on the day of the gods' opening? I don't think so. And who would lead the guards away? Oh, Pico, I love you.
Evren throws him kisses with both her hands, while Arya puts both her thumbs up at the camera. Even Seren salutes the camera. The sound of a door lock opening and closing repeatedly is heard back in the corridor. Pris readies the agent's rifle and slowly walks toward the clicking glass door. Opening it with the barrel of the rifle, she whistles appreciatively.
Come to mama, baby!
She exclaims and disappears into the room. Another door lock clicks, and this time Arya makes her way to the corridor, opening another glass door.
It's a ward.
She tells the others. Evren stands in the waiting room, gazing in awe at the camera. She whispers quietly.
Pico took over Winslow Industries.
What do you mean? Took over?
Taryn asks, perplexed by Evren's cryptic words. In the background, the noise of boxes being torn open sounds through the corridor.
I don't know exactly how.
Evren murmurs.
Jeppy discovered a master key in the cube data.
She says.
She locked it away, but there is no other explanation. Pico used the master key. They control Winslow Industries, and with it, they control Winslow Security.
Then tell Pico to shut down everything here.
Pris growls as she returns, loaded with automatic rifles over her shoulder, battery belts, grenade boxes, and body armor. Throwing everything down to the floor, she adds.
Help yourself.
Don't mind if I do, Emma.
Seren replies, grinning.
Maybe he can't shut everything down.
Evren muses as she looks at the gear on the floor. The clattered rifles seem to stare at her menacingly. Unsure what to do, she grabs a body armor.
Well, we better find out soon.
Pris retorts as she fills her body armor slots with grenades and battery packs.
Eventually, they'll blow up the charge.
She says.
Evacuation or not.
She helps Taryn into a body armor, snapping the locks tight. Arya returns from the ward with a first aid case. Hearing Pris's words, she agrees.
So, let's go.
She says.
Winslow wants it to happen online.
She points at the mute TV screen.
We can still...
She stops, gazing at the screen with an open mouth. There, at the bottom, she spots her name.
Hello, Arya.
A white cursor blinks below the message. Speechless, Arya waves her friends close to look at the screen. They gather around the TV to read the letters that appear on screen in plain white.
I am sorry.
The text moves up as another message appears.
So much sorrow. I will help.
Pico.
Evren calls out.
Can you hear us?
She waves at the surveillance camera and holds her hand behind her ear.
No. Too much to do. Sorry. Need to adjust.
What does he mean, adjust?
Arya asks worriedly.
I don't know.
Evren murmurs.
But if he really hijacked Winslow Industries, he's got a lot on his plate.
She remembers her talks with Jepedia about foundational AI arrays. Jepedia maintained that no single AI could simultaneously control large arrays. It would burn their chips.
Jepedia and Eddie say hi.
Evren laughs and cries tears of joy. Placing her hands over her heart, she turns and opens them wide toward the camera.
Thank you.
The white cursor blinks for a while, then rapidly spits out a long row of words.
I isolated plant. All staff left. Security system is offline. No surveillance in plant. Expect resistance. Need time. Sorry. So much to do.
So, we're going in?
Arya asks her friends, her voice brimming with confidence. Pris and Seren grin at each other over Arya's sudden aggressive stance, and even Taryn raises her eyebrows.
Sure thing, General.
Seren replies, smiling.
Right after you've donned this stylish garment,
She says, casually holding up a body armor for Arya. Now, that sounds promising.
Yes, the chances of success increased to 1.47%.